idea out of thin air that the state of Missouri can't have an opinion effectively in a preamble about constitutionality, and therefore they're going to not allow state resources or you know, manpower to be used for it, which in every other way you could describe that, um, that lower court did nothing right with that case. It was the most asinine, ruling they could ever come out with. But as a result of who the plaintiffs are in a preamble about Constitution, and who are the defendants in this, in the actual case language, they aren't the ones who do the enforcement. Therefore, Kavanaugh could not extend the stay on that procedurally, which is it's screwy how that's done. It's really, really screwy.
Like I said the other week, though, I can take this either way, because if they're not going to grant the stay, then that means it's probably going to go to trial that much quicker.
Yep, I think so too.
Here's the actual, or at least the page of the opinion here. First page of it. I don't know if this is a multi-page. I need to look at it. It says the application for stay presented to Justice Kavanaugh and him referred to the court is denied. Justice Thomas would grant the application for stay. Statement of Justice Gorsuch, with whom Justice Alito joins, respecting the in other words, Clarence Thomas thought it would be good to keep the stay, ironically enough. Let's see here. With the understanding that the district court prohibited only implementation and enforcement of HB 85 by the state of Missouri and its officers and agents and employees, and any others in active concert with such individuals. Which the way that that's written would say that the cause of action is still in effect. You could still sue them civilly because that's not an officer or an agent of the state. That's a civil court. So that portion of the law still applies. Is SAPA still partially in effect?
Actually, no. Technically, SAPA is not in effect at this time, not even partially.
But even as they wrote this, their entire basis of denying the stay is that the cause of action is still in effect, because you can't name the people of Missouri as defendants in this. Meaning the people of Missouri are because the people themselves enforce it through civil lawsuit, not criminal, but civil lawsuit.
In other words, they're the ones who has to take it to court.
The tort is still in effect. Yeah. The tort is still in effect. Okay. So, in other words, even though one portion may be labeled unconstitutional by some arbitrary court that has no jurisdiction in that to begin with, does that mean that the civil tort can still be taken in civil court? Which means there still is an enforcement, and the police still can't without consequences.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong here. Well, I'm going to boil this down a little bit. So basically what you're saying is, being that the people of Missouri can't be defendants, and we're the only ones that can generate this anyways, because we have to do the suing because of that. And that way, that part would still be in effect. You could still take them to court and sue them, regardless of whether the rest of SAPA is in action or not. And you know what? Being that it's on a stay, say you're taking someone to court during this period when hasn't been stayed, that could probably still go over to where if later on the Supreme Court recognizes SAPA, that would still be in effect. You can still take your civil case.
Yep.
That's a weird one. It's a kind of a unique thing because of how this is written, because it puts it in civil tort, not criminal law.
That's right.
It's two different legal
You know what?
structures.
Now, if you sit there and think about it, that was another really good one, putting it in the hands of people, because a lot of people were like, well, shoot, we're the ones who got to go generate it. But
you would have to put the name of every Missouri citizen in there to put them as a defendant.
Yep.
In other words, that's something to think about. If
Well, I did get
I will
the
say this though.
Everything gives me
I mean,
echo.
I am going to go talk to the police, and I'm going to call some of the sheriff's offices and stuff because they're probably sitting there thinking they're probably like, well, okay, it's not in effect right now, but we don't know what's going to happen. They probably don't want to take any chances. You never know. They might just want to wait and
particularly with that
happens,
court statement.
so they don't get themselves in any kind of trouble.
Hang on
That'd
one
be
second,
interesting
guys.
to know
Hang on.
what
I
they
think
think.
Doug is trying to say something. Doug, go ahead. Doug? Okay, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I was muted. Me and Maya were talking. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem, buddy. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting, guys. Go ahead.
That's
But yeah, I'm thinking a lot of these, police stations and stuff, they might just want to stay out of it for now until they find out whether it's going to go to Supreme Court or not. Because why risk putting yourself in a position like that? Because as it appears, I mean, you as a citizen can still go and sue for this if you want, regardless of whether SAPA is in effect or not. So the police are probably looking at, well, shoot, if we get sued right now, if we're going to do something, and SAPA ends up, passing to the Supreme Court, that can come back on us. So a lot of these cop shops and stuff might be just kicking back, saying, let's just wait and see what happens. Like I said, I want to start talking to a few of them, see what they got to say.
We'll see. I need to print off that entire court opinion and just go over it a few times and kind of figure out the in and out on that and look at some other angles with it. That's interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I think so too. But the fact of the matter is, gang, SAPA is not dead. We're taking it all the way to the Supreme Court. So, and that's another thing. Tom had written, I can't even see which platform he had written it on. Maybe it was on Odyssey. Locke and Smith Foundation. He says you have to read judicial opinions very carefully, as the vast majority of black robes. Hang on. Gosh darn it, I'm having a screen problem here. Hang on one second. As the vast majority of black robes will duly determine the federal government is supreme, even when they're in violation of the Constitution. I'm dealing with this on Twitter. A lot of folks are telling me, supremacy clause. The United States Constitution, trumps a state constitution because of the supremacy clause. We dealt with that last week on the video, Mike Bolden's very words. And the fact of the matter is, it has to do with the limitations of government. And there is absolutely nothing in the Constitution that says the government can fool around with gun law. In fact, the Second Amendment says the government can't fool around with gun law. Supremacy clause does not apply here. Go ahead.
Here's the other thing too: whether an act of the federal is supreme or not, in terms of the federal ability to make that act, it is still not in any way, shape, or form their jurisdiction to decide what happens with state resources and manpower.
Yeah.
That is a fact. There's a reason why northern states got away with ignoring the Fugitive Slave Act, because at that time the Fugitive Slave Act was considered constitutional.
Yep.
There's a few states that disobeyed prohibition that was written into the Constitution. They did not participate. They didn't get taken to court. Marijuana is federally illegal. Now, that is unconstitutional. That is not their jurisdiction. That's a Fourth Amendment violation, as well as multiple other things, and violation of the Commerce Clause, even though they won't say that. It's still not their jurisdiction to direct state resources and manpower.
Right. And another one I'd love to add, too, is sanctuary cities. As much as I am not a fan, that is constitutional. That is a 10th Amendment issue. We can argue back and forth as much as, whether or not sanctuary cities should be allowed, but they have the right to refuse resources to the federal government to get illegals out of their city. They do have that right. Mm-hmm. And that's just a fact, gang. I mean, and I don't like it either, but it is a fact. But the same thing is true with SAPA. The 10th Amendment, we talked about this last week just a tad, but the 10th Amendment is what is on trial here. It's not SAPA, it's the 10th Amendment. I guarantee it. Because our federal government is going down the road of tyranny. They're going towards a form of communism called feudalism. And the last thing they need is states refusing resources to the federal government as they go down that road. So, but SAPA is literally something that flies in the face that's very important to the federal government to get rid of, and that's guns in the United States. They want to get rid of guns. Go ahead.
And they particularly don't like it because the way SAPA did it that other states could apply is it put civil tort against state authorities.
Yeah.
For trying to do that.
Sure.
Trying to cooperate. Just something they have a really hard time touching. They have a really hard time touching civil tort. Just not in their wheelhouse.
Yep.
I just thought of something, guys.
Yeah.
All right, now the president is like commander-in-chief of our military, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the governor commander-in-chief of the highway patrol or
Yes.
our sheriff's offices?
Yes.
That's kind of a weird one. He's commander.
The governor can choose budgetarily who gets funded. He does have discretion.
That's different than being a commander-in-chief. I mean, like commander-in-chief is like our president commands the armed forces.
He's
what I want to know is our governor, is he like the?
He can only oversee the highway patrol. Counties are different.
He can oversee state police. He can oversee the Missouri militia, and he can oversee the National Guard in a time when there is not a federalization of the Guard.
Yeah, and
Of course,
triple
state police includes highway patrol.
Triple T Tony is asking. He says, "I must have been living under a rock. What happened to SAPA?" So let me answer that for Triple T real quick. And he was asking if the chat was broken on Rumble because I didn't respond to that. Triple T, who is also part of Travis's network with the Prepared Homestead, by the way. Triple T, basically, what happened was the 8th Circuit Court has determined that SAPA is unconstitutional and violates Supremacy Clause. And so there was a stay put on that decision, that opinion. And if I remember right, it was back in May or June or something. And so, in fact, it may have been earlier than that. It may have been in the spring. And so what happened was the 8th Circuit has rescinded the stay. So technically, SAPA is not a law anymore in Missouri, even though we're still pursuing it in the 8th, Circuit Court. And then, basically we'll end up probably going to the Supreme Court on this. But that's what's going on, basically. So it's an Obama-appointed judge that decided that the Second Amendment Preservation Act does not comply with the Constitution because of the Supremacy Clause. And so that's what all the hubbub is all about.
It wasn't just Supremacy Clause either. They said that they didn't disagree. In fact, they flat out said they didn't disagree that the state has the right to direct its resources to not cooperate. What they said is effectively that preamble at the beginning. They said that their reasoning behind it, their opinion, is somehow unconstitutional. Their opinion about constitutionality of law is unconstitutional, therefore the whole thing is facially unconstitutional. Which is this is why it's so asinine to look at that ruling and say it's a novel concept. Even they called it a novel concept.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in other words, that also might be a reason why the tort portion may still be in effect.
Yep.
So
Well,
I have to look into that.
I think most police and whatever are gonna, the alphabet police. I think they're gonna sit there and consider the tort part, or like you said, the tort part is still in effect. Because you never know, man. If people still file lawsuits and SAPA passes the Supreme Court,
I can't guarantee it, but it's worth looking into. Oh, by the way, Triple T, I did just approve your Facebook membership.
And I want to let everyone know who's watching. Go ahead.
I'll say this much too. As far as I'm concerned, I ain't paying attention to anything on the federal level when it comes to guns.
No.
I'm just gonna keep going like I've been going.
I think that's a good policy.
What are they gonna do? Come and get it.
Well, It's not only that, but also the Constitution is on your side, Casey, and that's just a fact.
Exactly.
So
Facts are facts.
I want to remind everyone who's watching tonight, we're streaming on multiple platforms tonight. If you look in the description section of the video, with the exception of Twitch and Facebook, you can find all of our socials. And the ones that we are broadcasting on live right now include Odyssey, YouTube. By the way, I did get YouTube up and running. And that was a delayed tertiary verification, by the way, is what it was. It finally came through on my phone. So YouTube is messing with me. We're also on Rumble right now. We're on Twitch, and we're on Facebook. So we're actually streaming on 5 platforms. Will we continue streaming on 5 platforms? We'll try. We'll see how long that YouTube lets us stay, with our talk about guns and schools and, basically the shenanigans with school fundings and districts throughout Missouri, because YouTube doesn't like this talk. Even when you bring facts and numbers to the table in your videos, they will still reduce your circulation and take away your view counts and also give you warning messages by email. We're enjoying those right now, too. We're just trying to get the truth out about what's going on with the schools in the state of Missouri. So please check out all of our platforms. If you would, please go to our website, mofree.org, get on the email list. And when you get an email from us, it's Saturday mornings generally, but check your spam folder. We're a .org domain, and a lot of .org stuff ends up in spam. So be sure to check your spam. If you're on our email list and you haven't received emails from us, check your spam or advertising or traps or whatever. We're not advertising anything. We're not selling anything. Well, we're selling liberty and freedom, actually, but it's free. All you got to do is want it. So, okay. Sorry about that. Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, going back to SAPA here, I just thought of something. I think also on Monday, I'm going to call the Kansas City ATF office and see what their reaction is to this and how they plan on going ahead with it.
They're going to have a hangover from having a party all weekend long is what's going to happen. They're not even going to come into work.
I don't know. Oh, God. Well, way to find out.
You don't even have to come to work now.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
You know how hard it is to get fired from the federal government?
Yeah, it is tough to get fired from the federal government, that's for sure. So, shoot, man, you could be watching porn all day long at your job at the IRS and not get fired, for literally years, and not get fired. And by the way, that's documented.
I wish they all watch porn at the IRS. That way they wouldn't be bothering us,
Yeah, well, gosh darn it. I'd prefer that they, just scale back their operations just a little bit. The IRS really only needs like 3 or 4 employees. That's about it. So. Okay, so as far as SAPA goes, I mean, that's pretty much what's going on with SAPA. I'm not sure if there's any way that we can actually enhance the conversation on this right now. Too little information, but there is one thing to be looking forward to, and that, of course, is to, the 8th Circuit Court. We have a day in court coming up pretty quick. So, that's something that we should all be watching. All right. So, at any rate, first of all, before we start going into free-floating conversations, does anyone have any questions? And I'm trying to keep an eye on all the platforms. I saw that Maya was heading over to Rumble. I don't know if they were having problems with Odyssey. But hopefully, Triple T, we answered your questions okay. And let's see, still looking on all the other platforms here. Patrick at MOFI is multi-platforming everywhere. I think it would make me go crazy. Yeah, I know. It is a little bit crazy to manage. I feel like I'm flying a 747 right now with all the platforms we're going on. Let's see. Triple T says, I got to run for office. Triple T, you should run for office. That's one thing I want to encourage. Is that good people, good constitutional conservative people do run for office in the state of Missouri, whether it be for mayor, school board, representative, senator. We need good people, and we're waiting for information. It's going to be coming soon. We're waiting information on the vetting process in the state of Missouri for the Republicans. And, once again, I mean, Goatfoot, you were talking in a chat here about, basically the three that if they got into office, how bad it could actually be for Missouri. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I was, just to kind of give context, I guess, this morning I was scrolling Twitter, and Mizzou had their homecoming this weekend. So they had the parade this morning, but I saw that Caleb Rowden's running for Secretary of State. And it just made me think that, oh, well, we have Mike Kehoe running for governor. We have Dean Plocker running for lieutenant governor. And, don't mind me, Holly Rader's just as bad as him. But I'm probably more concerned about Plocker getting the lieutenant governor than her. And then Caleb Rowden running for Secretary of State. So right there, you have a trifecta of people that would run the three most powerful executive offices in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
You have someone that's in charge of the budget and establishing boards and committees. You have the head of the Senate, and then you have the head of elections.
Yep.
So there's a perfect recipe of in destroying Missouri's sovereignty by making deals with the federal government and corporations.
Yeah.
That would be one unholy trinity right there.
Yep.
Oh, don't forget the World Economic Forum as well.
Yep. I don't know that they're tied to Caleb Rowden, but there's all kinds of circumstantial evidence that Dean Plocker is tied into the World Economic Forum, and it's all circumstantial, but all the relationships are there. All the businesses that represent, what the World Economic Forum wants to do are moving into Plocker's district, so he can claim that he brought jobs to Missouri, I'm sure. Worm farm jobs.
Predatory loans.
Yep.
Oh, don't forget the cricket farms.
Oh, the cricket farm that's going in. By the way, they've had news stories on that one already. And lithium batteries, making for lithium batteries for electric cars. Plocker brought those jobs into his district. Believe that these companies are European.
They're all tied to the World Economic Forum.
Sure they are.
Last one of those companies.
Yep.
And then he claims them as if he's the one who brought them in. What does that show you?
Yep. And so, something to think about, gang, running for office. Rhino76 says, I wish I'd have taken public speaking in school because I would definitely run for some office for sure if I had. Rhino76, I didn't take public speaking. I meant just go out there and speak. Just go out there and tell the truth.
Jeff City and speak during the hearings.
Yeah, Senate and House hearings.
Just public speaking, answering questions, all kinds of good stuff. Just start doing it.
I agree. So, once again, good people running for office. I don't want to, discourage that. And let's see. Wilderness Gal says everyone should participate, especially in the Missouri Freedom Initiative to help keep Missouri free from pro-communist rhinos. And Wilderness, I agree. That's another thing. We've talked about this before in the past. We made a video about it. It's 2.5 hours long about starting a grassroots organization within your state and actually doing something rather than just meeting and talking. Now, you see us meeting and talking, but the legislative season hasn't started yet. That doesn't start till January. When that starts, believe you me, you will see us in action. We go up to the Capitol and do business up there. We're up there. And I guess we need more pictures and more videos, but we'll assign someone in our crew to do that because I don't think about that when I'm up there. I just don't even think about pictures or videos or anything else like that, but there should be. But Wilderness Gal, thank you very much. I appreciate the sentiment, and I actually agree. If you don't want to start your own grassroots organization, if you don't, for instance, you want to learn more before you do, please join us. Please join us, especially during the legislative season when we meet up in Jeff City. Remember the date, January 9th. That's our first knock and shock of the year for 2024. We'll be supporting the silver and gold bill, by the way. Let's see. Triple T says, receive for disaster. I left New York 2 years ago to escape government tyranny. I hope it doesn't come here. Triple T Tony, that's what we're fighting.
Already here.
Yep, that's what we're fighting because we do have it here already. It's been here. It's the rhinos, but there's a lot of different fronts for working on taking care of that tyranny. I mentioned before, the Republican Central Committees are working on a vetting process for Republicans who want to run for office. And so that is going to help out a great deal. The problem is that the state central committee is threatening to sue the individual county central committees if they try to vet, even though by statute they're required to vet. So now Mark McCloskey has been hired to represent the individual counties if they get sued, because the Republican Central Committee, the Republican State Central Committee is a bunch of rhinos and squishies. Of course they don't want vetting. You know, that's the last thing they want. These guys that run guys and gals that run as Republicans will have to change party platforms. They're going to have to go independent or Democrat based on their voting records. I'll give you an example. Lincoln Huff, Senator Lincoln Huff, Springfield, Missouri, will have to run as an independent or a Democrat if he wants to run for lieutenant governor. He'll have to if this vetting process goes through. His voting is so terrible, it's indistinguishable from a Democrat in the Senate in the state of Missouri. Another one would be, Caleb Rowden. Caleb Rowden, once again, his voting record is indistinguishable from Democrats. You know, he votes with Democrats 50% of the time. You know, so at any rate, that's a problem. Hey, we got Janelle with us. Hey there, Janelle.
Hi. Actually, I've been on YouTube. I've been on Rumble. Now I'm here. I just finally got sound here. I had sound on Rumble, but I couldn't sign in and say anything.
Okay, good. All right. Well, excellent. Well, it looks like you're laying down. There's been a lot of heavy duty information today, so I get it.
Yeah.
But that's my point, gang, is that's where we're going in Missouri. We're taking care of business. We are cleaning up the rhinos, which are the reason we have some level of tyranny or so much purple legislation coming out of a red state. It's because of the rhinos. It's not because of it's the rhinos joining forces with the Democrats. So, and that's what they do. So, you know, unfortunately, they have power here in Missouri. When you consider the rhinos and the Democrats together, they're the majority, unfortunately. So, and we're tired of it. We've had enough. And people are getting mad in Missouri, which is great. Turn that energy into something productive. So go to your state and sue to get rid of the nonsense. You know, actually give your time, your effort, your energy into literally going there and literally telling them enough of this nonsense. No more. If you can explain to me exactly why IP reform under concurrent majority is not a good idea, then I'll consider it. They can't even, they'll say, well, there's court precedence on doing a 60% or a 57%. No. Concurrent majority. The vast majority of conservatives want it in the state of Missouri. But, as an example, Dean Plocker won't even allow concurrent majority on the House floor. Caleb Rowden won't let concurrent majority on the Senate floor. Rhinos are running the two houses. That's our problem here in Missouri. And our legislative season in 2023 was anything but normal. I mean, honest to God, it ended up being, a pissing contest between two men in the Senate, and that would be Bill Eigel and Mike Moon standing up for grassroots legislation. And then you had Dean Plocker in the House standing up for corporatist legislation. Dean Plocker, once again, paraphrasing, Dean Plocker basically saying, if we don't get my corporatist, sports bill done through the Senate, then you're not going to get any of your grassroots bills done through the House. Bill said, that's fine. He basically said, that's fine. And they basically stood up and they filibustered the Senate for the rest of the year. That's the kind of courage that we need in Missouri, is what Mike Moon and Senator Eigel did. Standing up to the rhinos. No one in the House did, at least not publicly. And they should have.
And then the rhinos had to cover it up after the session, saying, oh no, this was a great session.
Yep, they sure did. And in fact, they went on Scott Fawn's little show. I can't remember what he's called again.
This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you. That's it. This week in Missouri politics. And actually, I can't believe, Plocker actually said, well, it was a very normal standard session. Everything was going well. I get along well with everyone. And then the Senate had a meltdown in the last 2 days of the legislative session. If you spent any time up in Jefferson City, you would see that there were meetings between Eigel and Plocker happening in Eigel's office. I actually was there when Plocker came in to meet with Eigel to try and come to an agreement on what's going to get done. And something happened and it broke down, and I know it did because Plocker was pushing for more corporatist crap. And Bill Eigel was saying no more. You know, we only have Eigel for 1 more year as a senator. He's running for governor of the state of Missouri. Thank God Mike Moon can still run for another 4 years, and he's running in 2024 because we need men and women like this standing up to the rhinos on the floor in real time. And in private meetings, that too. That works too. But when you do it on the floor, everyone sees what's going on. And that's not a private backdoor meeting where you may or may not get information out of that. I'm sorry, I went off on a rant. You guys feel free to fill in any information here that you'd like to.
Actually, yeah, I have a tidbit I ran across today. For anybody who thinks the WEF isn't working hard, it was actually a video had to do with tokenizing assets, which is
Internet of Things.
It could be yeah, and but the tokenization of the entire private market.
Sure.
And the WEF, IMF, they're all like really, really pushing this hard. But anyway, it was actually some kind of meeting in Asia. It was 4 months ago, May 28th, and it was if you catch, it's Chainlink, which is a hot player. But anyway, at 4 minutes and 38, I'll send you the video link to the video, Patrick.
Sure.
She actually says, after talking about the trillions that will result in tokenization of all private property, she actually says at 4 minutes and 38 that so we can all, meaning wherever they were, so we can all own a piece of the U.S. Constitution.
Oh.
I had to rewind and rewound and played it 4 times, make sure I heard it right. But yeah, plain and clear.
Oh boy!
I want to own the piece where
Yeah.
it says you should hang traitors. That's the one that I want to own.
Yeah.
So
there, I know it ties in with the school bond issue, the whole property issue, but yeah, I'm digging up more on it, but in the fireside thing, but yeah,
That thing is.
yeah. So they can all own a piece of the U.S. Constitution. That was an interesting wording.
Yeah, it's funny about that is that kind of plays into that whole so-called stakeholder capitalism they want to label it as, because what is that? Fascism sounds a little too what's the word I'm looking for? A little too bleak.
Sounds a little too harsh.
Yeah, sounds a little too harsh there. Yeah, fascism sounds a little too harsh to the general public, so they're going to call it stakeholder capitalism.
stakeholder capitalism. I love it. It almost sounds like a corporation where you can make a profit.
I know, right? Except it's not.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and that's
Well, if you heard the whole Biden thing, did you hear the words investment and competition?
no, I sure didn't. Is this a relatively new thing or?
Yeah, I forced myself to. I don't usually, but I forced myself. It was his 15 minutes address to the nation, why we should all pay for more war.
Oh, I've not been paying attention to the news lately, honestly. So, no, I'm interested in. Go ahead. Yeah, I know. That's a really ridiculous thing that's happening right now. And you know why? It's because we got an election coming up in 2024, and there's an awful lot of money laundering going on through paying wars right now that are going back into political PACs in the United States.
Well, it's not just that. It's the only way they kind of keep things floating around and level. Because if they print all this money and it's outside of U.S. market, it doesn't affect the general inflation.
Yeah.
Which means they look good on paper. The economy looks good on paper when it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Let's
If
just
they
keep
keep
funding our gerontocracy.
And the longer they keep that mess going, it's, they get QE, then then QT, and then they go to war, and then they do QE again, and then they go to QT, and they go to war again. And they keep the cycle going at, every year or every 2 years, to the point where, they can balance out their budgets and make it look good on paper and keep the mess going.
Yep.
As the banks are having bail-ins.
Yep, and they're just barely servicing the debt, so they don't have to worry about default.
That's what we call a zombie government. That's essentially what it is. And by the way, gang, I'm going to make a prediction right now that I probably shouldn't, but I do know that there's something like $8 trillion of United States debt that has to roll over next year in 2024. They can't do it at 5%. They're going to have to lower interest rates before this happens. So my guess is, go ahead.
I say, but when they lower interest rates, what happens when the general public that is not aware of the reality of this, they see lower interest rates? What do? Oh, they're this low right now. They start taking on some of that debt.
Yeah, it's time to buy that, that vacation home that you've always wanted, in Puerto Rico.
I saw a study that came out a couple months ago that even with the higher interest rates, people are willing to accept much higher payments now because they feel like they can refinance later when it comes down.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how that works.
It's not, but the general public believes that. It's the school system, it's this, it's that, and that's how they keep this mess afloat, because the people absorb the debt. You are their product.
Yep.
You are what they're selling. That's what the IMF does.
And they're only now getting hit with the higher insurance and then with the school bonds taxes, and they're starting to feel this ESG crunch financially, but it hasn't gotten into full swing yet. So
Yep.
And they
with
can't
the asset tokenization and fractionalizing, they'll get people, oh, now you can just you can sell a fraction of your equity and just eat away at them that way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunately what's coming here. You'll own nothing and be happy. This is a big part of the public schools. When we get into this, and it's going to be next week, we're going to be talking about literally the fact that and once again, this is actually in the handbook for school board members, but mainly it's on the state school board side, where they're encouraging getting as much money as humanly possible out of the local effort. They're encouraging, basically legislation to get the states out of state sales tax for fuel, while at the same time asking the state to raise the sales tax on fuel so the schools can get more money out of it. The schools are frightened to death. They're going to be losing funding because of SB 190 in the state of Missouri, where people who are on fixed incomes, or more specifically retired folks, have their property and personal property taxes frozen. They don't go up anymore. So at any rate, the schools are not tightening their belts. They refuse to tighten their belts. They say, we have diminishing attendance in our schools, but we want more money. That's the only way we can compete, is if with more, we can get more money. Guys, this is actually part of a WF. Sorry, Voodoo, go ahead.
I said, let's try raising grades instead of the money.
Yep, they're not interested in raising grades right now, apparently. It's really more about diversity, equity, inclusion. And
don't worry. If they want to make grades look better, like that somehow seems like a good idea, all they have to do is lower the thresholds for test scores.
Yep. That's all you got to do. And by the way, I have on the screen right now.
How dare they don't want to take money from elderly people.
Yep. Here's actually a document from the Supreme Court of the United States, which Caleb so graciously placed in the chat. And this has to do...
It is a one-page.
Yep, it's a one-page. Basically, the application for stay presented to Justice Kavanaugh and by him referred to the court is denied. Justice Thomas would grant the application for stay. Statement of Justice Gorsuch, with whom Justice Alito joins, respecting
Alito.
I'm sorry?
Alito.
Alito joins, respecting the denial of the application for stay, with the understanding that the district court prohibited only implementation and enforcement of HB 85, which, by the way, is SAPA, by the way, if you ever hear that, or it's House bill, Senate bill, that sort of thing, by the state of Missouri and its officers, agents, and employees, and by others in active concert with such individuals. App 2 Emergency Application 29A, I agree with the denial of the application for a stay under the present circumstances. An injunction purporting to bind private parties, not before the district court, or the challenged provisions themselves, however, would be inconsistent with the equitable powers of the federal courts.
What does that tell you?
That
means the defendants aren't the enforcers.
Yep. Yep.
Meaning they can't grant a stay for someone that doesn't do the enforcing.
Yep. So I thought you guys would find that interesting. So it's on your screen
It's
there.
exactly what I was saying before. That they realize that it prohibits state employees from enforcing this, but not the people.
Yep. Yep. GG333 says the MSBA is evil. Let's see. Can't get any sound on Gilded. I'll have to listen on Rumble. That's Casey Rich. Okay. And Casey Rich, I mean, honestly, you were breaking up pretty bad on your video side, so I think there was probably some bandwidth issues there. And also, Triple T informs us the down payment for an average home is now $30,000. And that's probably for a conventional loan. For FHA loans, I believe it's significantly lower. FHA or USDA loans are coming in at probably closer to $5,000 to $10,000 for a down payment. But I do believe you're correct on a conventional loan. In other words, a loan directly from a bank where the federal government is not backing up the loan. And the average age of the first-time home buyer is in their mid-30s now. Yep, it's not the way it was 20 years ago, that's for sure. So at the same time, I mean, the houses are getting out of reach for millennials and Gen Zers. It's just out of reach. They'll never make enough money to be able to buy any of these homes. And this is a situation they should be upset about when they look at, oh, well, our student debt's going to get paid off by the president, so therefore we can afford to buy a home. No, in fact, you're going to exacerbate the problem because all of that debt will go on to the taxpayers. They're going to have to literally print up fresh currency, minty fresh currency, in order to pay the interest on that debt.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is a snake eating its tail. And once it gets into the commercial banking system, all bets are off. It gets fractionally reserved. And then they have to
then once it's...
Go ahead.
I say once it's fractionally reserved there, then the average person takes up that debt.
Yep.
With their own assets.
Yep.
Assets that they have acquired with that debt.
Gotcha. And Maya's telling us she ditched Odyssey, much improved over here on Rumble. Hey, good deal. We're having a permanent presence on Rumble, to be sure. Everyone knew that was part of the plan, though. Everyone in the Missouri Freedom Initiative. So, and Odyssey, we love Odyssey, too. We're going to stay on Odyssey permanently as well because it is a platform that does not censor. Now, currently, Rumble basically is not censoring either. But you'd be surprised the battering we're taking on YouTube right now because we recently put out videos explaining why a school district in Missouri, Gasconade R2, is playing fast and loose with the numbers having to do with their bonds. They're actually engaging in some very, we don't know 100% if it's illegal, but it's definitely something they're not telling the people they're doing in their school district, and it's unethical behavior. So, okay, gang, I figure we're going to close it out in about 15 minutes to round out a 90-minute show tonight. So is there anything that we should be talking about? Anything that we've missed? Let's see. Triple.
Well, there's
Go ahead.
something I'll pay attention to this week. I guess there's a ethics committee hearing sometime during the week, but there's not really much disclaimer of what it's about.
Okay.
That sounds interesting. An ethics committee after all the stuff that's gone
Well,
on.
especially outside of session, too.
Okay. Outside of
Organize
session.
that one.
And yeah, I wonder what that's all about. I have a sneaking suspicion. But
I have a sneaking suspicion as well too, but they're not saying it outright. So,
well,
now the question is, who organized it? Did Blocker authorize this, or was it something they just kind of did on their own?
yeah, like I can go to the House website.
yeah, we should know more about that. We're curious. So what Gofa Grant is saying is basically there is going to be a ethics committee meeting in Jefferson City. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's on Friday at 10 a.m.
Don't they normally like to fire people on Fridays? I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, this is in the commercial, business world. It's better to fire people on Fridays. That way they have the weekend to cool off so they don't show up the next day, trying to shoot up the place or whatever.
On this committee. Okay, Hannah Kelly's the chair. Richard Brown is the vice chair. Jerome Barnes, John Black, Paula Brown, Buckheit Courtway, David Evans, Rick Francis, Robert Souls, and Arlene Terry. These are reps we don't really talk with. No wonder they're on the ethics committee.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have to go ahead and find out what that's about. I think that should be known. I mean, don't you think that's something that we'll report on?
Yeah, I mean, I came across it yesterday. I even tagged a bunch of people on Twitter, and Catherine as well. So she has a lot of sources. So
yep, gotcha.
Maybe she'll figure it out. But I mean, it's 10 a.m. on Friday. If I don't have anything going, I'll probably just pop it up on my phone just to see what's going on.
So that will be broadcast then.
Well, yeah, hearing room 4. So
it sounds to me like we'll be doing that on. Okay, hang on. Catherine is chiming in on Odyssey. So she's saying ethic committee hearing Friday at 10 a.m. It's important. We've been waiting for it to happen. Good deal.
I like this sound.
Yeah, Catherine, gosh darn it. Yeah.
I like the sound of this. That's almost tempting to drive there.
Yeah. It might be broadcast is what I've heard.
Maybe I'll take lunch really early that day.
Yeah, we might have to make a field trip and so we can report to the Missouri Freedom Initiative, basically, let's see, it's to protect possible whistleblowers. Oh, they're going after whistleblowers up in Jefferson City now. We got to protect them, of course. Interesting. Wow. That's insane. Okay. All right, gotcha.
So does that have to do with this recent fireside thing?
I suspect so.
Ooh.
Yep.
Well,
I might have to figure out a way to get over there.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about going up there on
how many
Friday,
blocks
too.
away are you?
I'm probably like a mile from the Capitol.
Wow.
Yeah, just take your lunch really early.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go eat lunch at the Capitol. It's like you walk across a hallway to go into the.
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, hang on Rumble. Triple T has a question that I think some of you will find interesting. Triple T says, I have a question. What do you prefer for a CQB pistol? AKA SBR, Galil Ace Gen 2, CZ Bren 2, Scar, or Sig Spear?
First off, no Scar. Those things, they eat optics. They feel nice, they're accurate, but they will eat an optic if you don't put a really expensive optic on the thing. It's designed to take some recoil. CZ, they're all right. CZ Brens are good. They're a copy of the I think they're kind of a cross between the ACR and a AR 180 or AR 18. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the spear. I don't like SIG products.
Okay, I want to say that Catherine is also saying, I've heard it may not be open to the public. We'll let everyone know as soon as I learn more about the hearing. Okay, Catherine, you've got several of our phone numbers and email addresses. Let us know what you hear. Thank you for that, by the way. And
please let me know, Catherine, since I
Yeah.
am in Jeff City. I'd be very interested in knowing that. So,
yeah,
And Patrick, give Catherine my number if she wants it.
okay. All right. Let's see. Wilderness Gal says, safe travels during your field trip, y'all. Well, we may not be making a field trip. If it's not open to the public, we're going to have to hope that they broadcast it so we can actually just watch it on the internet at 10 a.m. on Friday. I'd much rather be schlepping coffee, wearing my pajamas, watching that than actually going all the way up to Jeff City for it. But at the same time, I want whistleblowers in Jefferson City to know that we appreciate you very, very much. We'd like to show support for you somehow. So all of you who work up in Jeff City that have helped to stop corruption in Jefferson City, that actually helped to shut down an act that would have been illegal or unethical, we thank you. We truly thank you. And we're behind you. If you look at our mission statement for the Missouri Freedom Initiative, we are very much about exposing corruption in the state of Missouri at all levels of Missouri politics. And we're working with you on this. And thank you for the whistleblowers in Jefferson City and everything you're doing to help our great state. Thank you. Okay, I am looking for, Rhino76 says, it's almost a phobia for me. Tunnel vision and heart rate increase. He's talking about public speaking. Rhino76, I have something to tell you. I do a lot of public speaking, and I am absolutely terrified every time I do it. Absolutely terrified, but I just muscle through it.
He really is. I've seen him, before and after many occasions, but he gets up there and does it.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. You'd never know.
Yep. Let's see. Wilderness Gal says, pull your pant leg up high and flash some leg on the side of the road, Casey. Oh, he's talking about Casey getting a ride.
Getting a ride.
Hey, that might get Blocker's attention, too. You know what? I think you're wrong there, Wilderness Gal. I think it's Scott Vaughn that might get, that might like that a lot. He keeps talking about how attractive Dean Blocker is and what a nice guy he is and stuff like that. And I'm thinking that Scott Vaughn may like Blocker more than just a friend. I mean, I'm starting to get that impression. Just the way he talks on his show. And so, I can't be sure. I'm not starting a rumor or anything. I mean, you guys can go watch the show and tell me what you think. Let's see. Scythe says, it depends. If you're by yourself, prefer a pistol with a high-capacity magazine. Beretta's my favorite. And Triple T Tony says, I'm torn between the Galley Ace and CC Bren. Then even worse, I do get a 7.62 or a 5.56. 7.62 by 39? That's wonderful. 5.56, 223 also. But I am, it admitted, ammosexual. And I've talked about this openly before. I think there's other ammosexuals in our group as well. We really don't care about the ammo. We just love all the ammo. So go ahead.
Yes, many of us are proud polyamorous ammosexuals, and we love many firearm platforms and the food that we feed them.
Yep, that's right. So at any rate, but I am a fan of the 7.62 by 39 AK-47. And I am very much a fan of the AR-15 5.56 platform, and especially since I can get 223 a little bit cheaper that will ride in that platform. So that makes me polyamorphous ammosexual, I'm told. And that's okay. I wear that with pride.
It's polyamorous.
Polyamorous. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. It's a Latin term.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to check for any more comments. Oh yeah. Let's see. Catherine is saying she teaches public speaking. So Triple T, just so you know, Catherine does teach public speaking. You know what? I knew that. I should have said that. And also, Catherine is also saying that Plocker and Scott Fawn have some kind of bromance going on. And so Catherine's now asking me, what are my pronouns? My pronouns for my polymorphous, amosexual.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say freedom and liberty are my pronouns. So
mine are
Those are my pronouns too, Patrick.
Okay, gotcha.
Mine's kind of lean more FAFO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The more drawn out you can make them, the better.
Okay. Let's see. Wilderness Gal says, Caleb's laugh is making me laugh so hard. I'm having immense body pains after the horrible accident. Sorry about that, Wilderness Gal.
Oh, no.
This liberty aligned amosexual.
Yep.
Triple
You know
T.
what? Okay,
Hey, guys.
So seriously, to troll the anti-gunners, we should come up with our best pronouns and everything surrounding our love of guns, and then just start dropping that in their Twitter section. Seriously, just do it. Just watch their heads, figuratively watch their heads explode.
Well, I want to tell you, I think we're doing a big public service here because right live on our show right now, Triple T has just come out as an amosexual as well. I think
We're so proud of you, man.
Yep, he's. You know what? That took courage to do that live, Tony. And you say you can't publicly speak. I mean, honestly, you've always been one of us all along, and you didn't even know it. Let's see.
Over here.
Scythe says a long barrel gun to be grabbed. You turn the corner, and that's why I like a pistol if you don't have a team. Let's see. Triple T Tony says I need to work with Catherine. So at any rate, we'll get you guys all hooked up.
Side note: long barrel gun. Draw the stock back up over your shoulder. Particularly if it's a low recoiling option, just draw the stock back up over your shoulder when you come around the corner and pull back. Best option.
And KC, you're breaking up on us pretty bad. Just want to let you know. But we were, joking about the whole thing. That was, a little bit of joking that was going on here about you flashing a little bit of leg to get a ride from Plocker to the Capitol. Because I am pretty sure that Plocker is heterosexual. It's Scott Fawn I'm worried about, honestly, gang. And he's really, first of all, he licks Plocker's boots. He keeps talking about what an attractive man he is, and he keeps talking about how nice he is. And so, go ahead.
We ever thought about asking him what his favorite boot flavor is? Whether
we
it's,
should.
Caramel, licorice.
Yep.
Cinnamon.
No, it's police flavor. Flavor. Police flavor.
Okay, gang. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to read a few more here. Royal has joined us. Hello from Boonville, Missouri. Hey there, Royal. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. And then we had Poodle Pearl. I want to acknowledge everyone who joined us tonight before we sign off. Carol Moody joined us tonight. Gary Ride, Wilderness Gal, that's Maya. Janelle, of course, was with us on platforms included in Gilded. We actually got to see her face for the first time, which was really cool. Tom Martz was with us. Let's see. We got Triple T Tony. The Crystal was with us. Let's see. From Philippines, by the way. From the Philippines. Someone joined us from the Philippines. That's really cool. Crystal Roby joined us. Let's see. Rhino76 and Royal. And that's just on YouTube. Let's go to Odyssey. And Odyssey, we want to thank Maya. Let's see. Tom Martz. Gary Ride. Goatfoot Grant, of course, joined us there as well. Warrior Class 3. By the way, he said if the SCOTUS takes SAPA, he'd have a hard time in light of Bruin. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully, very soon we should have some big news on SAPA if we get the date somewhat right. I think November 18th or something like that for the 8th Circuit. Don't quote me on that, gang, because I'm going by memory, and my memory is not as good as it used to be. Let's see. And Catherine, of course, joined us, and it was nice to see Catherine. Let's see. Lock and Smith Foundation, that's Tom Martz, says he's fawning all over Plocker. So fawning, it's a play on words. Scott Fawn, fawning all over Plocker. So that's pretty good. Warrior Class 3 says, for rifle, I still use the MR 308 168 grain. That's a mighty powerful projectile there.
168 grain. That's actually a decent. That's slightly below average. I think 175 grain is standard for 308, so it's a little faster projectile. 150 grain is standard. Never mind, that's another 18 grain higher.
Yep. Gigi joined us. Triple T Tony joined us. And if I'm forgetting your name or if I missed it, forgive me. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We had a lot of platforms going on and a lot of activity on each platform too. It's hard to keep on top of that, but I think I did an okay job with that tonight. And let's see. And then Twitch is where we've only had one viewer tonight, and they're still viewing. So I want to thank you for watching on Twitch. Hopefully you don't work for the federal government. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. And Facebook, I don't even know how to tell how many people are watching. But if you're watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. And we're thinking about wrapping it up. And I want to let you know.
There are any feds.
Go ahead.
I say if there are any feds watching tonight, we don't like you. Don't kill my dog.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that that's, a reasonable thing to say for a Fed who may be watching. Let's see. I want to say, first off, that tonight was kind of an experiment. We went on 5 platforms simultaneously with software called Prism. So it's Prism Studio is what we're using. And so far, so good. Sorry about the late start on YouTube. That was a delayed, not first, not secondary, but tertiary, third verification that it wanted that it was me before it would start the live stream. And those came through on the good old-fashioned cell phone. YouTube is messing with us, gang. So we're not sure how long we'll be there, but we're going to keep trying anyway. And so there's a lot of folks that like the ease of use with YouTube. So we'll stay there as long as we can. But we'll still be on Odyssey and Rumble and Twitch even. We'll see if we can grow it on Twitch. Thank you for joining us tonight, because without you, Missouri can't fight for freedom. The fight begins and ends with you. It begins with the people. It does not work with politicians alone. We described tonight a situation where 2 senators stood up to literally the tyranny of Dean Plocker. Actually, let's call him a rhino. I think he's more of a squishy. He's a little bit of both, maybe, to the House. It took 2 senators to stand up to Dean Plocker. We need the people in the House to get the courage to stand up to Dean Plocker. They know he's doing wrong. They know he's not doing the right thing, but they lack the courage sometimes to stand up to him. The people will back you. The people are upset with Dean Plocker. They're upset with the rhinos. They're upset with the squishies. We're with you. So, all right. Anyone have any final words for tonight?
I know Casey's not here, but I'm going to say go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Oh, that was nice of you.
Yep.
Casey's,
he couldn't be here.
He's going to defend that, saying that the Chiefs won some kind of sports thing last year. And then maybe
they won
something. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. There's just too much sports going on. I can't follow it all. But I really do appreciate all of you joining us tonight. You guys are the best. And, if you're not on our email list, you're denying yourself something really good. We communicate pretty much through email and these live streams. Go to our website, mofree.org. Sign up for free on our email list. We do not share your email list. We are not selling you anything. We're just keeping you updated with what the organization is doing. So please do. And if you do, make sure to check your spam filter, for emails from patrick@mofree.org. That's me. Okay. Thank you again for joining us. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless us all with health and with courage. because we've got to take care of business in the state of Missouri, gang. Things are not looking good, and it's going to take us to get it done. So I want to thank all of you for joining and participating in this experiment we call freedom. May God bless each and every one of you. Have a good night, gang.
For Missouri.